Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Ben Swan Radio Show. My name is Evan Mulch. I just want to make sure my microphone is working right now. Josh, are you there?
Hey, Evan, it's great to be back.
All right, good. I thought we were having technical difficulties there. Okay, well, Josh, thanks for joining. And just so everybody knows, today we have guest Adea Benjamin that is going to be joining us at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, and she's going to be talking about Guantanamo Bay and her recent article appeared in the Huffington Post. And to start out, though, we're going to be talking about an article that Joshua Cook recently wrote on benswan.com, and it's titled "Startup Could Stop Feds from Controlling the Web." And Josh, would you go ahead and talk a little bit about that article?
Yeah, I thought this article was very fascinating, and it's something, we talked about before. We're both, I would say, both friends with Jeffrey Tucker, who talks about this all the time, about how innovation and technology and creativity really sidestep federal control or regulation. And, this was pretty interesting. I would encourage everybody to go to benswan.com and check out the article. These entrepreneurs created this app called Fire Chat, and it's pretty interesting. It's basically just it's a web that connects phone to phone, and of course, a lot of people use this, like for example, Taiwan and other parts of the country where the government tries to shut down Twitter, for example. They tried to do that in Turkey. But the simple truth is, look, entrepreneurs and creative individuals are always going to be more tech savvy than the federal government. They're going to always be one step ahead. Creative people are going to do that. And so I thought it was really neat. A lot of people, we've been talking about net neutrality issue and all the different restrictions on the web, but it gave me hope that there's always going to be creative individuals that are going to sidestep the government, use creative innovation to be able to communicate and really have that ability of free speech to communicate with others without government interference.
All right. Well, I read the article, and that's exciting to me. I'm a big advocate for making sure the feds aren't controlling what we do, on the internet. I don't like the spying, and I think it's wrong. And anyways, I'm glad to see so many people coming up with new ways to make sure that the internet truly is free for people to communicate on, and without the government intrusion, that so many of us worry about. And Josh, I'm actually going to surprise you by playing a video here. Not many people know this, but Josh Cook is not only a writer for Ben Swan. He's not only a father of and a husband, and he's not only a full-time worker at the business he works at, but he's also is running for office at this time. And so I'm just going to play real quick the ad that is going on multiple radio stations right now. So anyways, here's the ad.
House District 17, and I need your vote on June 10th to fix our road problems. It's time to bring back our tax money from Columbia and the corrupt politicians. I am not a status quo Republican. I am a constitutional conservative. I'm an MBA graduate from North Greenville University, a committed Christian, and a local businessman who wants reform in Columbia. Please send me to Columbia by voting for me, Joshua Cook, for House District 17 on June 10th.
Paid for by Cook for House.
Well, that is
yeah. Well, Josh, that sounds like a great ad. I think it sounds very presidential, and I can't believe you're running for office. I think you're kind of crazy for doing all these things at the same time, but it's a good sort of crazy. It's like the government is very, the people that control the government right now are probably very aware of what you're involved in, and I'm very proud for what you're doing. What is your goal with running for office right now?
Well, I did it out of frustration, just because, you know, the politicians, they're not listening to the people, the real ordinary, average American that works really, really hard, tries to raise a family. You know, these politicians, they just listen to, you know, the big corporations, the Chamber of Commerce, special interests. You know, they don't listen to the people anymore. And we're at a situation right now in South Carolina where we're just being taxed to death. I mean, you know, the school board is raising taxes, county council is raising taxes, and they just continue to mismanage our money. I mean, right now, as you heard in the ad, we have a major road problem. Our roads not getting fixed. Even though we pay taxes to repair roads, the job's not getting done. And so I ran out of frustration, and you know, I think a lot of people, I think my message resonates with other folks. And we'll see what happens on June 10th, but I just encourage everybody to, you know, step up and run. I mean, it's the only thing that's going to cause pain in these politicians is to have a challenger, a liberty candidate that wants to limit government and increase liberty for every American. And you know, that's my message. And I know I'm not the only one that ran for office. And hopefully we can have a sweep on June 10th. We'll find out. But you know, there again, I always like what Ben Swan always said: liberty is rising. And I feel like our message of liberty is resonating. And I think people are waking up. So, you know, we'll see. I wanted to give people a choice, you know, between the status quo, good old boy politics, and give them choice of a liberty candidate that wants to limit government and demand that we'll have more money in our pockets to raise our families.
Yeah, well, as many people already know, we both live in South Carolina. Our counties actually connect to each other. And your county is actually doing such a great job raising taxes. I really think it may revitalize the downtown in my county.
That's true. You're right.
So you fight the taxes a lot in Greenville, and you know it's so hard because you really have a lot of county council members and people within your city that want to raise taxes. And you know, initially my county had the highest taxes, but it looks like you guys may go past what my county's done, and then maybe our downtown can actually become the downtown that everybody goes to. But anyways, I'm not going to give you too hard of a time about that. I do, you know, want to tell people out there, even if you don't think you can win, you know, just give something a shot. If it's just a local race, you know, make sure it can be winnable. So if you're new to, you know, running for election, you know, try a county council run or a city council run or a state representative run, and just make sure that you market yourself well enough to where you're at least letting, you know, it's giving you a platform to let your message be heard that you're not satisfied with the status quo. And unfortunately, in practically every country in America or every county in America right now, we have the status quo. There is not a county to go to right now where you have sort of a liberty environment.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, like, where in America can you go that it doesn't have property tax? I mean, that's a big issue. And I think every American, if you think about it, they want to have true ownership of their home. But right now you don't have that. It's just like we rent from the government. If we stop paying property tax, guess what? They're going to come complicate our property. I think that's only more. I think the property tax, I mean, that's what our founding fathers fought for, was property. So
absolutely, Josh. Yeah. Well, we're going to go for a short little break, and we'll be back here just after a few messages. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Ben Swan Radio Show. Topic we want to talk about is about this gunman who was involved in this university shooting at Seattle Pacific just yesterday afternoon. One of our writers, Annabelle Bamforth, has actually just posted an article on benswan.com about this matter. So if you're interested in learning more about it, there's a video posted and plenty of content to read through. And this is definitely a problem, in our universities, especially. I think nearly all of our universities are supposedly gun-free zones. They're supposed to be gun-free zones, and it seems like a lot of our shootings in America, happen in these gun-free zones, and it's something else when a bad person knows that if he's going to take a gun into some place, there's basically nobody there that can really stop him, with a weapon that's like his, and unfortunately there was a person killed at this event yesterday, but there was other people that were injured, but a hero came out of this. There was actually a student that used pepper spray to take down the shooter when he was reloading his gun, and apparently that sort of stopped the shooter from hurting any more people. And this is a terrible incident to have in America, and we definitely, those of us here at benswan.com, definitely grieve for the family members and the people that are hurt, and just pray that everything can get better in the near future. We just our hearts are definitely with them. And Josh Cook, you and I are both big gun advocates. We believe we want people to carry them on property locations, especially schools and universities, just because that gives shooters or bad people that may come onto a property the understanding that there will be opposition to them if they come in and bring their guns on the property. Go ahead, Josh. What do you think should be done about this issue we have on universities?
Well, I definitely advocate for to allow students to conceal carry at the universities. This is my thing. You always hear these tragedies happening, but the truth is, you just cannot stop. You just cannot stop these type of tragedies. And the bottom line is, whether it's a gun or a knife, you're going to have evil people that are going to try to do evil things. And I know there's always a reaction. Well, we need to focus on mental health issues, or a lot of people try to advocate to ban or eliminate guns totally. But if it's not going to be a gun, it's going to be something else. It's going to be a homemade bomb. It's going to be a knife. You have evil people in the world. Of course, I would feel better if I would be able to go to university and still carry.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate, and I think most people, it's going to take, this will be in the news for a number of days, people trying to figure out what this shooter, Aaron Ybarra, he's 26 years old, he wasn't even a student at the university, what exactly was he thinking? And according to one of his friends, Zach McKinley, he actually said, quote, "I'm really good at deciphering if someone's got bad news or in trouble. I'm blown away by this. He called me yesterday and asked if I wanted to go fishing," end quote. So apparently, the guy seemed to be, pretty normal according to his friend Zach McKinley, and he just comes out of nowhere, shows up at the school, and starts shooting and hurting people. And so this kind of stuff is definitely unpredictable, and we know for a fact that there's going to be groups that are going to be pushing for the end of they're going to try to stop in some states from people being able to get guns, and who knows who will be called out. Maybe it's the NRA, maybe it's Gun Owners of America. There's a lot of people out there who use tragedies like this as a way to advocate for the end of people, for people's abilities to buy guns in America. And we've got to recognize that these sort of occurrences shouldn't be used as an opportunity to advocate for restrictions on guns. I'm sure you probably agree with that, right, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I don't know. You know, were you still in school when the tragedy at Columbine happened in Colorado?
I was in college.
You were in college at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was in high school, and I remember, you know, we were just, of course, my high school was about a 4 to 5 hour drive from Columbine because I'm actually from Western Kansas. And, a lot of us were really, we really thought it was going to happen to our school next. Because that's just the kind of, the news at Columbine just kept going, it was over and over on the news. So we kept watching out for people. And then one day we had a threat at our high school. So we actually, the school was closed down and we went to, the elementary school that was nearby. And we all were put in the gym, for the afternoon, and we waited until the person who had made the threat had, I don't know actually what happened in the end, but we were allowed to go back to school, I think, at the end of the day. But it was just, a frightening thing for all of us, but never once did the school go, oh, well, we'll just hire security guards, or we'll just make sure, a few teachers, are guarding the school, with weapons. That was never once, thought of or mentioned. It was just, oh, we're gonna take all these students from the high school and we're gonna march them down to the elementary school without having any protection for them. And so you really, I really worry about kids in these schools and what they the worry they have to go through, number one, but the predicament a lot of these kids are put in, and the teachers, when they're not really protected by anybody with at least an equal weapon to what a shooter may have.
Yeah, I know. I mean, for me, I've made a decision not even to send my son to a public school. I mean, just the other day there was a bomb threat, and they didn't even notify the parents that there was a bomb threat. And these government schools, I mean, they're just targets. I mean, it's not the only reason why I don't want to send my son to public school, but, that's one of the reasons. And, I think that's why Ron Paul is so, pushing the idea of homeschooling. And I know that's a challenge for a lot of people, but, it gives me peace of mind to know that, my son will have an alternative in public school. And, so I don't know, man. It seems like you're hearing more and more shootings that are occurring, but it's not. This is the thing. It's not. These people are not using AR-15s or anything like that. These are just like normal firearms, like shotgun and a pistol. I mean, I just can't imagine them being able to ban those guns.
All right. Well, next up we have guest Medea Benjamin, co-founder of Code Pink. So please stay tuned. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Ben Swan Radio Show. I'm your co-host, Evan Mulch, and also with me is co-host Josh Cook. Do you know if a cyber criminal, online predator, or malware has access to your smartphone today? With over 860 million identity thefts in the USA, most likely not. It's pretty scary out there. Not only government agencies, but online criminals and predators gaining access to our microphones and webcams. So what can we do about it? Well, Gary has agreed to provide Snoopwall to benswan.com listeners at a discount from 20 to 50% off retail price. To take advantage of this offer, go to benswan.snoopwall.com, spelled benswan.snoopwall.com. Snoopwall takes control of all your hardware ports, becoming your trusted port authority so that cyber criminals, online predators, and malicious apps can't. Snoopwall blocks the bad guys so you can reclaim your privacy. The Android version is now available. Gary tells me that the Windows versions are coming out soon, with Apple iPhone and iPad versions to follow this summer. And right now we have our guest Medea Benjamin, co-founder of both Code Pink and the international human rights organization Global Exchange. Welcome, Medea.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right, and we are going to be talking about what is happening at what is happening at Gitmo, right?
Whatever you want to talk about, fine with me.
Okay. Well, you've had some. You've written, I think, 8 books. One about drone warfare, killing by remote control, and a few others. So, your main issues at Code Pink have to do with, I'm guessing, foreign policy. Is that correct?
Yes, we started out as an organization focusing on the misguided policy of going to war in Iraq, and we have been looking ever since at how do we change our foreign policy, bring our soldiers home to focus on defense here in the United States, not creating more enemies overseas.
Well, great. Well, it sounds like that's a great cause to be part of, and actually this is actually my talking to you is my first time to talk to somebody from Code Pink. So I'm glad to learn about your organization, and it sounds like right now you are focused on what's happening at Guantanamo with the 5 prisoners, and yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say we've entered into the ongoing national discussion because of all of the firestorm of media criticism against the swap between Bo Bergdahl and the 5 Guantanamo prisoners. Our position has been, as President Obama's is, that Guantanamo should be closed. He has always been giving excuses about why he can't close it, acting as if his job as commander-in-chief doesn't give him authority, and he must get permission from Congress, permission that Congress won't give him. So we use the occasion of this swap to say, if he used his presidential authority to release these 5 high-level Taliban, what about these low-level or people who were never even involved in any kind of military activity but ended up in Guantanamo? Why doesn't he use his authority to release them?
Right. Which is very concerning. I know when President Obama gave his initial, presidential, speech when he was elected, I think he mentioned, was it 4 or 5 times that he was going to close Guantanamo?
Yes, he mentioned it from the campaign trail. He's mentioned it in speeches consistently. He mentioned it at his May 23rd speech last year, which was the major foreign policy address, and he has reiterated it just recently. So he keeps talking about it, but he doesn't do it.
And Guantanamo, to many Americans, they see it as a good thing to be able to hold prisoners, off our national soil, but at the same time, many Americans see it as un-American to have a place where we hold people prisoners without giving them, a fair trial.
That's supposed to be the bedrock of a democratic system. People have been fighting for over 800 years now, certainly since the signing of the Magna Carta, to say that there should be some judicial process of people being accused of something and then having a trial. And to keep people now for over 12 years, indefinite detention is not something that our Constitution ever contemplated, our Founding Fathers ever contemplated. People have to be charged and tried, and if there are no reasons for trying them, then they should be let go.
And how many prisoners do we have in Guantanamo now?
Well, we have about 177 prisoners now. This has gone way down. Actually, it's during the time of the Bush administration that there were hundreds and hundreds, up to 800 prisoners, most of whom were released under the Bush administration. It's kind of ironic that Obama came in, and instead of picking up more people in the battlefield or in neighboring areas and bringing them to Guantanamo, they decided to just kill them with drone warfare. So that's why Obama hasn't increased the size of the population in Guantanamo, but he hasn't done anything to release those prisoners who for years now have been cleared for release. And we think it's important for the American people to understand that while there might be a debate now on the 5 people who were let go, with some people saying they were a high-level Taliban, other people saying, no, not really, we should recognize that the majority of people who are left in Guantanamo have actually been cleared for release, and that means that the Department of Justice, Department of Defense, the CIA, the FBI, you name it, the whole panoply of U.S. agencies has determined that these people are either innocent or pose no threat to Americans, and yet they continue to languish year after year in this prison.
And what has anybody from your organization visited Guantanamo?
Yes, we work with a lot of lawyers who are the lawyers for Guantanamo prisoners, and we ourselves have been to the gates of Guantanamo to actually organize a protest there with a number of the family members and former prisoners who came back to do that, to draw attention. We've been following very closely the hunger strikes, and then we also went to Yemen because the majority of prisoners are from Yemen, and we met with their family members there. So we have a lot of contacts with the prisoners, lawyers, and family members. And we have also been working with a number of people in our government from left to right who believe that this is wrong. The problem is there is a group of Congress people who are using this as one of their ways to call Obama soft on national security issues and to try to tie his hands. But we have seen now with the release of these 5 prisoners that Obama signed what's called a signing statement, something that he criticized George Bush for doing but has done nevertheless. And that says, yes, I'm signing this legislation into law, but I'm putting my giving myself as president the authority to disregard some of these restrictions here. And he did that in the case of Guantanamo. So he used that authority in this particular swap, and he could certainly use that again. But more important is that even with the legislation, it says that you have to give Congress 30 days notice. Well, he could, as of today, give them 30 days notice and then release the prisoners 30 days from now.
And when you say release, should they still have a trial before they're released, or do you think is your group advocating just to send them back to where they're originally from? I guess these prisoners have already made it through to where they've already passed the questions and everything, right? And they've been classified.
I mean, come on, they've been in prison now for 12 years. The ones that pled guilty, they've been let out because 12 years is a long time. The ones who are left are either ones who have been cleared for release. That means they have done nothing or they are no threat. Those people should be released. That's what cleared for release means. They should be either sent back to their own countries or sent to another country, and there are plenty of options. And the other ones should be given a trial. But you just can't keep people there forever. And as you mentioned in the opening, we've been very much against the drone strikes, because not only can you do indefinite detention, you can't do indefinite detention, but you can't just kill people outside of the battlefield.
All right, well, we're approaching another break. Please stay with us, Medea, and we'll be back here in just a couple minutes. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Ben Swann Radio Show. I'm your co-host, Evan Moltz. Josh Cook, also here as the co-host. We're both writers for benswann.com. Have you heard about liquid gold? Liquid gold is a liquidity of your precious metals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I recently started using AnthemVault.com to buy and store my precious metals, preserving my wealth in a safe and efficient manner. Anthem Vault is giving away free gold and silver to everyone who opens a free account by going to AnthemVault.com and entering promo code BEN. Everyone who opens a free account now will also be entered into the Anthem Vault $500 of gold and silver giveaway contest. Open your free account on AnthemVault.com and preserve your hard-earned dollars today. Welcome back, Medea. I was just reading some information about you, and it looks like you really go to great lengths to to work with others in other countries. I didn't know that you'd even been tear gassed in Bahrain in 2012, arrested and deported by the government there. If you wouldn't mind sharing, what that was like, and whether or not you're, do you continually, are you going to continue putting yourself in situations like that, or did you realize that it was going to come to that when you were in Bahrain?
Well, you never know. We do a lot of visiting to places that are often in conflict and put ourselves at risk, because that's what you do as a human rights organization. I was recently very traumatized in Egypt when I was beaten up by security thugs in the airport of Egypt when I was going in there in March. And we have been deported at gunpoint from places like Pakistan. So yes, things do can get quite dangerous. In the case that you mentioned in Bahrain, it's a good example of a very repressive government where the United States is supporting them because we have the Navy's Fifth Fleet based there. In the case of Egypt, the U.S. is supporting a military coup government that just had a sham election because it's part of having an ally next door to Israel. The U.S. has been supporting a lot of nasty characters around the world, and that's one of the things we, as Code Pink, have been doing, which is to try to push for an end to U.S. tax dollars, your money, my money, unfortunately, going to support repressive regimes.
Yeah, and it's really something that we take a good look at BenSwan.com. All the money that is transferred to these regimes all over the place, and so many of them are. It's just like Josh Cook and I. We live in South Carolina, and yeah, Lindsey Graham is. I'm guessing you don't work with Lindsey Graham on these issues. Do you call him a friend, or do you has he ever helped you in the process of this?
No, we're usually on the opposite side with Lindsey Graham. And, one thing we find ironic is that oftentimes, we're not Republican or Democrat. We say pox on both their houses. We find that they're both corrupt. The whole system is corrupt. But it is quite ironic that a number of Republicans who are so much into small government and fiscal responsibility, they then go ahead and okay these weapons or other kinds of, quote, aid to repressive governments overseas. And we say, you want to save billions of dollars, well, stop giving to these governments, close down the over 800 bases we have overseas. You know how many billions of dollars we would save, and yet you can't get people like Lindsey Graham to support that kind of fiscal responsibility.
Mm-hmm. So what does the future hold in America? I mean, President Obama, we found out we can't really trust him. The majority of our congressmen, U.S. senators, can't be trusted. Like you said, the whole system's corrupt. Hardly anybody follows the Constitution. What would be the best use of our resources as citizens at the local level to try to stop some of this stuff that's done in other countries and also in Guantanamo?
Well, we believe that it's really citizens' movements that force government officials to make changes. And we've been heartened by the general sentiment of the American public, left, right, independent, you name it, saying we're sick of these wars. We don't support the war in Afghanistan anymore as a majority of Americans. And look at the outcry that came when President Obama wanted us to get militarily involved in the Syrian conflict. There was a massive uprising from all the different political spectrums. So that's the kind of thing that we need, and we believe in working across ideological lines to stop our government from getting involved in new wars.
Well, who are the best people to work with in Washington, D.C.?
Well, there's a lot of organizations that are great to work with, but are you talking about in terms of Congress people?
Sure, Congress people. Yeah, start there.
Well, it's interesting. There's people that would consider themselves on the left, like in the Progressive Caucus. You have the co-chairs, Keith Ellison and Raul Grijalva. In the Republican Party, you have people like Justin Amish or Walter Jones, who's close to you, who have come out with a lot of good positions on these issues. So those are a couple of the offices that we work with.
Okay, very good. Well, I really hope that we have an opportunity to close Guantanamo in the future. It sounds like from what you've said and what you wrote in your article, the president does have the power to close it down. So, if any of us at benswan.com ever get the opportunity to interview President Obama, Ben Swann did a few years back. But that'd be a good question, to ask him if there is an opportunity.
I was at his May 23rd speech at National Defense University, the major foreign policy speech last year, and I did get up and interrupt the president to say, "You are Commander-in-Chief. You have the power to release the cleared prisoners." And then when I went on to talk about the drone policy. So unfortunately, we don't get a chance to dialogue with the president, but when we do have the opportunities to speak out, we take advantage of that.
Now tell me about the drone policy. Are there any statistics that should really worry Americans when it comes to what we're doing overseas with our drones?
Americans should be very worried that we don't know what we're doing overseas with our drones, that it's taken Freedom of the Information Act requests, that it's taken bringing our government to court, it's taken a grassroots movement, all kinds of things to wrest the basic information about what is our government doing and what agencies in our government is doing it. That's why I wrote a book called Drone Warfare, Killing by Remote Control, because there was so little information. And we should be concerned that thousands of people are being killed by remote-controlled wars. The Obama administration just calls any male of military age in the zones we're using the drones a militant, and that gives supposedly us the right to kill them. Imagine if other countries were doing that to us. Well, be concerned that the U.S., Israel, China, and other countries are making and selling drone technology to many other countries around the world, and we are setting this terrible precedent that unfortunately I think other countries are going to start following.
Right. And it's really scary. I mean, we've heard so much about there being drones that have hit weddings or church events or funeral events, and we really don't know how many times these drones have hit overseas and killed groups of people. But from what I understand, these drones are really targeted towards people's cell phones. I don't know what your understanding is how they pinpoint a target, but even if they are going after the targeted person, it's really unknown whether or not there's more people, around that person that's being targeted.
When the U.S. first started using the drones in the earlier 2004, 2005, and then Obama starting 2009, there were a lot of civilians that were getting killed, people who just happened to be in the area or mistaken targets. The government has recently tried to be more careful about that, but just in December in Yemen, there was a wedding party that was mistaken for an al-Qaeda convoy, and the drone attacks killed 12 innocent people in that instance. So,
Medea,
unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, it's been great having you on. We have to go into a break. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we look forward to having you on the show again. Thank you so much, Medea.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me on. Bye-bye.
Bye. Welcome back to the Vince Swan Radio Show. I'm your co-host, Evan Mulch, and I'm with me co-host Josh Cook.
Hello.
Yeah, hey. And our guest today is Tav Henderson out of Texas. There's a lot been said about Tav and his group in Texas. They are advocating for carrying guns, open carry. And I think, Tav, have you been on national news recently?
Quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. Tell me about. I think you were on Fox News, right?
I've done Fox, MSNBC, CNN, just a whole list of. We did Al Jazeera yesterday, so I've made the rounds over the last week or so. All right.
And what is how do you think the media is treating you as a pro gun rights person? Those of us who are pro gun rights, we're not treated very well, when it comes to the mainstream media. How do you think the reactions are so far?
I could say CNN and MSNBC has definitely been hostile, but I'm not surprised by that because they are leftist media. So I didn't expect any different reaction than I got. I could say that the independent media that I've been interviewed by has been awesome. I mean, I'm a big independent media guy myself. I'm not real. I don't put a whole lot of faith in mainstream media because they've shown time and time again they have their own agendas.
And yes, they do. And there's a lot to be worried about by some of the things they sometimes advocate on their shows, and the spin that they try to put on some of these events that happen, such as yesterday's shooting in Seattle, where unfortunately there was somebody killed, and then there were other people that were injured. But it's obvious that some of these mainstream media groups are going to put some spin on it to try to advocate for taking away people's gun rights. Now, your group. Please tell me the name of your group, when you got started in it, and how you became the leader of the group.
Well, I'm not the leader of the group per se. That would be okay. C.J. Grisham. I actually am the public relations director. But I'd say we have a board of 12 people, and we're a real tight-knit leadership group. And so, we all work together, and we always say that, no one person's bigger than the other. We're all equal. And the reason being is because we all have the exact same goal. We want open carry legislation passed in Austin. The group, we were founded just about a year ago. Actually, I think like a year ago, 2 days ago, actually. But we've been around for about a year, and we've been growing rapidly. I mean, we're at just around 20,000 members, which is pretty phenomenal for a group that's been around for such a short amount of time.
And this is, yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Tom, this is Joshua Cook, and thanks so much. We got an article, exclusive article on VinceSwan.com right now, and I love your quote. I thought it was interesting, and also we wrote a previous article about how the NRA kind of didn't really understand what was going on, what you guys are trying to accomplish down in Texas. It's just and of course you responded to the NRA, but there at the same time I thought the gun owners of America really support you guys, and they kind of get it. It's like, okay, you can carry AR-15 open carry in Texas, but you can't carry open carry a 9mm on your side, and that makes no sense at all.
Yeah, it really is. It's the absurdity of that law. And that's what we really display on our walks. I know the media likes to call them demonstrations, but we're not demonstrating anything. We're out there exercising our natural rights that are guaranteed by the Constitution. That's all we're really doing. And part of what it does when we're out there on our walks is it exposes the absurdity of the law in Texas. I can walk around with an AR-15 strapped to my back, but I can't carry my Glock on my hip, because if I do that, I'm automatically a criminal for doing that. Really, that's the most absurd thing, because 44 other states already allow open carry in one form or another. And, you know, the great state of Texas is in the company of states like California, New York, and Illinois, not exactly what one would consider gun-friendly states. And Texas has this reputation of being, you know, the gun state, the gunslinger state. Everybody in Texas owns a gun. So it's a little odd that we're so far behind in gun rights in Texas. And it really puts a black eye on the state of Texas, because our reputation is, we're a reputation of a state that believes in individual liberty. We're a state that believes in gun rights. Yet often we don't actually display that. It's more of a possibly a false reputation that we have. We're trying to fix it.
Yeah, in South Carolina, we're in the same boat. They don't allow open carry in South Carolina either. It's something that we're struggling with. We have a Facebook too. I support open carry in South Carolina. Kind of like a spinoff of what Oklahoma was able to do, passing their open carry law, I think a couple of years ago. And it seems like you guys are growing the movement, bringing awareness to this issue, and I totally support that. I guess also what was interesting, I talked to Victoria Montgomery, who's actually having a child. Congratulations, Victoria. Really excited for you. But I talked to her last year, and you guys, some of the members in your group were arrested because they were open carrying an antique pistol. Can you tell the audience about why did they, because by definition it's not even considered a firearm, but it seems like, you guys were, some of the members were arrested for that. Can you expound on that?
Yeah, it's a very odd situation with the state of Texas, with the Capitol Police, Department of Public Safety officers. I think what it was just a lack of education on their part, not understanding that Texas law actually doesn't define a black powder pistol, a pre-1899 black powder pistol, as a firearm. And to me, it seems, and actually one of our members, C.J. Grisham, he wasn't arrested for a black powder pistol. He was actually arrested for carrying a toy. So talk about an unlawful arrest. I mean, when you can't even carry a toy in a holster, that's a very, very strange situation right there. Luckily, at least in some people's case, such as Terry Holcomb, his case, the black powder pistol at the Capitol grounds was actually thrown out. So there has been victory there, and we assume that the rest of the charges will be dropped against the other people as well, because in retrospect, I think even the state of Texas realizes how absurd that really is.
Yeah. Now a lot of this, so there's a lot of companies now that are coming out and saying, look, we don't want patrons to come and open carry. Some of these businesses like Chipotle. What do you say to that? Do you respect their right to say, look, we don't want people to open carry in their restaurants? What's your position on that?
Well, to me, it's a really, really simple answer. My gun rights do not trump someone's private property rights, period. I mean, liberty extends beyond guns. But with that being said, the reason I actually respect the fact that if someone doesn't want me to carry in their business or carry on their private property, I will always comply. In Open Carry Texas, our members will always comply. We always have, and there's never been a case where we didn't comply. But at the same time, we wouldn't want to be in a place that doesn't allow firearms to begin with, because it's been proven time and time again throughout the years that gun-free zones are actually kill zones. I mean, I saw one number that said every mass shooting in the United States since 1950, -2, happened in a gun-free zone. So there's obviously a correlation between gun-free zones and criminals feeling invited in to commit evil. And so I wouldn't personally be comfortable taking my family into an establishment that only allows criminals to carry, because we all know criminals don't obey signs. They don't obey laws. That's why they're criminals. So for me, it's if they want to create that kill zone, if they want to just allow criminals to carry, and they don't want law-abiding citizens carrying, and they don't want people to be able to protect their lives, to protect their families' lives, I wouldn't want to go to that business anyway.
Are there some businesses that really welcome you guys?
Oh,
yeah.
Texas?
Actually, let me be clear on something.
Josh, we got to go to a break real quick, and please stay with us, Tav. Really enjoying this discussion about gun rights and learning more about Texas. And everybody stay with us here. We've got a break just for a few minutes. Thanks. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Ben Swan Radio Show. I'm your co-host today, Evan Mulch, and with Joshua Cook. And right now we have a guest of Open Carry Texas, Tosh Anderson, and I'm actually reading a USA Today. Actually, Tav Henderson, I'm sorry about that. I'm reading a USA Today article right now, and where a mom is saying she's applauding the moves of this mom's group that is advocating for Target to not allow, to stop allowing open carry. And she's quoted as saying, American businesses and restaurants should not wait for open carry extremists to demonstrate in their establishments. Now is the time to stand up for the safety of employees and customers. What would you say to that, Tav?
Well, it kind of goes back to my previous point. I mean, the argument is absurd in and of itself. What they're saying is the sight of a gun makes it more dangerous. And I don't understand that argument. How is it if it's below a shirt, underneath a shirt, or inside my hip, beneath my clothes, how is it less dangerous because you can't see it? This is really a visual issue. It's hoplophoobia. They're seeing a gun, therefore they're scared. And here's the big problem. It goes back to what I was saying before. It doesn't matter if you create these gun-free zones. It doesn't matter if you tell gun owners, don't come in here. Criminals don't care about that, obviously. I mean, why do mass shootings continue to happen in these gun-free zones? Because criminals don't care about the law. They're there to do one thing, and that's kill people. They're there to commit violence. And no matter how many laws you pass, no matter how many signs you put up, no matter how big that sign is, it's not going to change the fact that a criminal is still going to be invited by seeing that sign, because they know once they cross that threshold, they're entering an area where people, law-abiding citizens, are unarmed and unable to defend their lives.
Hey, Tom, this is Josh. I just wanted to ask you a question. When you go into these places of business, how are you treated by the management or the owners? Especially when, I'm seeing pictures of you guys in the place of business. How receptive are they?
Every single photo you've ever seen of us inside a restaurant, we were actually invited and or welcomed by management in. The reaction you're seeing in the media is really interesting because most of the people who are petitioning against our past actions of open carry eating in establishments, they're being argued against by people who don't even live in Texas. So we're having like New York people, California folks in other states are complaining about local businesses allowing us to carry, and they're telling them, hey, we're not going to eat in your establishment anymore. Well, they don't even live in the state, so I don't understand the logic there. So we've never, like I said earlier, we always respect private property rights. We always have. And if an establishment, if a business asks us, hey, we prefer you not be here with your firearms, and it has happened before, we always say, okay, thanks, and we move on to the next one who does welcome us in. And we've always done that, and we always have. So,
just so everybody's aware, this USA Today article says that Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America is actually a group that's funded by the former mayor of New York City, Michael Bloomberg, and that comes at no surprise to many of us. And so that's Todd. That may be your answer why people from New York and California are the ones telling business owners in Texas, not to allow open carry into their places of business.
Tom, is there a local business you've been able to establish a good relationship with? You like to give them a shout out right now? Because I feel like we in the movement have to really try to support those business owners that are pro gun. Is there any restaurants or any business owners you would like to? I think Todd just dropped off the call.
Yeah, we may have lost, but you bring up a good point, Josh. And there should be some praise for those businesses that allow people to open carry, within their establishment. Unless, I think what could make things a little bit different in some cases. I think Tav, kind of made a good point that gun-free zones are really just great places for criminals to open up and fire on people. And so it's very important for places of business to have security. And if there's not going to be, appropriate security for a place such as Target, I went into Target today, actually this morning, And I don't recall seeing any security guard. I'm sure there's plenty of security cameras, but did I feel safe? I mean, if somebody would have opened up in there with a gun, I would have probably been trying to find my way to. I don't know exactly what I would have done, but I don't think there was proper security at Target to defend a gunman from coming inside the Target and shooting.
Right, exactly. And, I know one of the reasons why I got my concealed carry permit, I heard a story out in Denver of this guy who went around in this grocery store stabbing people with a steak knife. And I'm like, wow, there was a guy that actually was in that supermarket that had a gun, and he was able to stop that guy. He said, look, either you drop this knife, I'm going to drop you right now. He was able to save lives. And I told my wife, I said, look, bottom line, this world is crazy. There's crazy people in it. I got to defend myself and my family. And that's why, I went out and got that type of protection. So, I think what Todd's group's doing is just really bringing awareness. Because bottom line, if you don't use or exercise your right, you'll lose it. And you got radical leftist organizations like Moms Demand Action that tried to stop. They were one of the organizations to try to stop constitutional carry in South Carolina, by the way. Of course, we know that's a Bloomberg operation. So, I commend what they're doing. Open Carry Texas, keep it up. I mean, hey, over 20,000 members. That's pretty awesome. So they're doing something right over there.
All right, Todd still isn't back with us, but Todd, if you're listening, we want to keep you on the show a little bit longer. So we're actually approaching a commercial break. Josh, it's great hearing your story about what made you helped you make the decision to start carrying when you went into places of business. I mean, it's really it's the same issue I think that Ben Swan talks about. Many people know that we actually had a drawing for an AR-15 a few weeks ago, and I think Ben had the discussion with his son where his son goes, well, what if a bad person gets it? And Ben's reply was, well, what if a hero gets it? And so the fact of the matter is we want good people to be carrying the guns because we just know that the bad people are always going to be able to get a hold of the guns. And so we need to make sure that good people have them as well for any instance that may happen, in a public place or even at your own house. And it's essential to be able to protect yourself, and it's a natural right. And it's really sad that these groups, specifically this group funded by Michael Bloomberg, is advocating for their group to actually go to Texas or drum up media coverage in Texas to try to stop people from carrying into places where they would feel unsafe otherwise. But I really think that Tav, from what I've heard from him and what I've seen in the news, he's doing a great job, educating the public on what our rights are, as citizens in America, and what we need to be doing to help re-educate, or if for those that aren't being re-educated, to help initially educate people on what our rights are here in America. And hopefully we can come to the conclusion in the next few years that open carry is a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing. It's also a business owner's decision whether or not to let people into their store, whether if they're carrying a weapon. And I think that's something that most gun owners understand. Of course, there's probably a few out there that are bugged by it, but property rights do trump gun rights according to the natural rights that we have. So anyways, we're going through a break here. Hopefully Todd will join us in the next half hour, and we'll just continue to talk about the topic of open carrying. So hang on with us, everybody. Thank you. All right, welcome everybody back to the Ben Swan Radio Show. I'm your co-host, Evan Mulch. Do you know if a cyber criminal, online predator, or malware has access to your smartphone today? With over 860 million identity thefts in the USA, most likely not. It's pretty scary out there, not only government agencies, but online criminals and predators gaining access to your microphones and webcams. So what can you do about it? Well, Gary has agreed to provide Snoopwall to benswan.com listeners at a discount from 20 to 50% off retail price. To take advantage of this offer, go to benswan.snoopwall.com, spelled benswan.snoopwall.com. Snoopwall takes control of all of your hardware ports, becoming your trusted port authority so that cyber criminals, online predators, and malicious apps can't. Snoopwall blocks the bad guys so you can reclaim your privacy. The Android version is now available. Gary tells me that the Windows version are coming out soon with Apple iPhone and Apple and iPad versions as well this summer. So thanks for joining us again, Tav Henderson, and just so everybody knows, he's with Open Carry Texas. In the past little over half hour, we've been talking about what's been going on in Texas and the groups that have been advocating against the gun rights of Texas citizens out of California and New York. And before we lost you, Tav, Josh had actually asked you a question about the business owners in your area that are okay with open carry, and he asked for you to give a shout out to some of them that actually support what you're doing.
Yeah, well, some of them I actually won't, because I want to respect their privacy. Because part of the problem with this entire thing has been part of our events are never centered around the establishments we ate at. The truth of the matter is we have our walks, and sometimes they would go on for hours, and we might walk 2, 3, we even walked as much as 10 miles before. So it kind of goes without saying, when you walk that much, you burn calories. So we would actually go eat, after the fact. So I want to clarify that too, because a lot of people think we were demonstrating inside a restaurant, which was not the case. We were actually just eating because people get hungry. With that being said, I can tell you one for sure who's been very, very open, Plum out of Joe's Pizza and Pasta in Arlington, Texas. He's always been a vocal supporter of us. He's actually a Second Amendment guy himself. He actually done walk with us before too, so we definitely appreciate him. And if you want to find an establishment where he does welcome you to openly carry your firearm, Plum's place, Joe's Pizza and Pasta in Arlington, is the place to do it. That's my little plug for him.
All right. Well, good, awesome. Good. Yeah. I wonder, if you're walking door to door, carrying those guns on your shoulder. I guess if a fast food restaurant won't let you order, you can't exactly leave the guns outside while you go in to order. So I guess you may have to walk through the drive-through if you're really wanting to get something to eat.
Right, and the thing is, we realize that the attention that it's caused, it's kind of distracting from our message. So we kind of changed our policy, not because we feel like we have to, but just because we don't want that to be the central thing, like, oh, people are eating with firearms on them, which is kind of a ridiculous argument to begin with, because technically, there's so many people out there who are concealed carrying already. So once again, it's just a matter of a visual situation of seeing the firearm that suddenly makes it bad. It doesn't matter that people are already doing it to begin with. Your premise is correct. It's kind of ridiculous to think we'd actually have to leave our firearms outside the door. But going back to my earlier point, anytime we ever open carried in a restaurant in the past, we were always welcomed by management or the ownership of that business. Like I said, we respect private property rights every bit as much as we do our gun rights.
And open carry. Go ahead, Josh.
No, Tom. The thing is, I've always heard reports, especially Georgia, our neighboring state, reports of criminals actually admitting after they were arrested that they chose not to rob, for example, a Waffle House, because when they walked in the Waffle House, they saw people over carrying, with a firearm on their side. So they would just go to the next restaurant that was an easier target. When you walk in a cafe and you have these guys with their firearms, you're not going to rob that place. You're going to go to an easier target where there has like a ton of or no firearms allowed.
I agree, and here's that's one of my arguments why open carry is so important. For me, it has many things why it's very important to me. But the visual deterrent is a very real one. There's a reason why police officers wear uniforms with their badges and their pistols on their hip. If there was a tactical advantage to conceal carrying their firearms, to concealing the fact they're police officers, they would do that every day. Now, of course, some police officers do if they're trying to do a sting or something like that, and they want to blend into the crowd. But why do police officers wear uniforms? Why do they have police written on the side of their vehicles? Why do they carry their Glocks on their hip or their firearms on their hip? They do so because it's a visual deterrent to criminals, because it's just common sense that if you have two victims side by side, one of them has a XD9 on their hip, a Springfield on their hip, and you look at another guy who's standing there with a shirt that says guns are terrible or something like that, or anything. You're going to pick the guy who's obviously not armed. I mean, that's why the open carry legislation is so important. There is a visual deterrent. There's a visual deterrent to knowing that the people are armed. And if your criminal walks into an establishment like the scenario you spoke of in Kennesaw, Georgia, and they see 5 armed individuals or even one, they're going to pick a target where there's a chance that the person that they're robbing or potentially going to kill is not armed. I mean, by nature, it's common sense. Criminals want to mess with people who don't have the means to protect themselves.
Yeah, it sounds like common sense to me.
You have over 20,000 members in Texas right now. What is your plan for the future of the group?
Well, I mean, our plan for the future of the group is continue to grow, continue to educate the public. And one of our big mission statements is fostering a working relationship with law enforcement. We believe there's a lot of oath keepers out there. I meet them every single walk. Officers who walk up to us and say, "Hey, man, we love what you're doing. Keep it up. I can't wait till you guys get open carry legislation passed." So I'd say our overall goal right now and what we expect to happen is next year we expect the state legislature to convene, and we'll finally get a chance to see a vote hit the floor on open carry legislation. We assume that the first bit of legislation will be open carry if you have a concealed handgun license. Long term, we like to see is a return to the Constitution, and that means the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And I'm of the firm belief that if you tax, charge a fee, or prevent some folks from actually being able to carry, you are impeding on their right to keep and bear arms, and you're infringing upon that. So our overall goal would be to get back to the original meaning of the Constitution.
Well, very good, very good. Who in Texas, as far as state representatives go and state senators go? I mean, who can you guys count on when you are trying to pass legislation?
Well, that's kind of to be determined, because that continues to shift. The whole playing field's going to change because there's a whole new set of legislators who are going to be taking seats come January when they convene again. So that's to be determined. We're working behind the scenes with a lot of people and with other organizations to kind of determine, okay, who really is friendly to what we're trying to accomplish. And we really think that most of them are. We just need to continue to apply the proper pressure to show them that Texans across the state want the option of either concealed carrying or open carrying, because our right to bear arms our right to bear arms that is guaranteed by the Constitution. Yeah, it guarantees that. There's no reason to stop that, because 44 states have already allowed it, and it's worked beautifully.
Yeah, I think I may have said this yesterday on the radio show, but it's just I think over and over again, Josh and I, we're constitutionalists, and you tell people that the Constitution is this is just what we should follow. This is the rule of law, and we say it's guaranteed, but I guess they kind of take it away whenever they want to, our natural rights. But overall, it's just good policy, and it's really I think the Constitution can be improved, but it's way better than what we're doing right now if we just follow the laws that the Constitution has, and just let people know if we want safer schools, if we want safer restaurants, if you want to be able to shop without having to worry about a shooter coming in and targeting you and your family. Just help push this legislation to have open carry. This makes perfect sense. you may feel uncomfortable initially whenever it all happens, and people start, carrying their weapons outside their jeans. But it's just, it makes for good policy.
I agree completely.
All right. Well, Todd, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we hope to chat with you soon. Maybe do another story about your group.
That'd be great. I'll be glad to be on anytime you guys want. You guys have a great day.
Yep. All right. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
All right, listeners, please stay tuned. We're going to go through another commercial break, and then we're going to ask people to call in and talk about what you think about open carry. All right, welcome back to the Ben Swan Radio Show. This is actually Josh Cook and I's last day. Actually, we did the show yesterday, and today is our last day to co-host it together. Ben will be back next week, and we've just been so happy to do this show together, and so we thank all of you for listening in, and we're going to welcome a few callers to call in at this point. So if you want to talk about open carry, or if you want to talk about maybe drones overseas, anything that we've previously discussed, we're definitely open to talk about anything at this point. I think we learned quite a bit about Guantanamo Bay, didn't we, Josh?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of things I didn't realize. It's amazing that there are still people that are supposed to be released, but they haven't been released in 12 years. Amazing.
Yeah, it's something that many people have kind of forgotten about. I think it's easy to forget about when there's so many other things to pay attention to, and it's like the drones. We forget so much about it. It kind of feels like sometimes it's out of our control as citizens of America, just because we only really have our voice and our ability to vote to try to get these people out. But the hard part is trying to fish out the good guys, to vote for. And when there's just so few people that are advocating against drones and against having a place like Guantanamo, there's just very few places to put your money and your focus. And I think, Josh, that's why those of us who help with benswan.com, it's so important to re-educate the youth, or to some of them have already been educated, so re-educating them is a good thing, helping them understand that, yeah, you're going to see a lot of problems with Americans' foreign policy. And a lot of people are scared right now that there may be drones with weapons flying over American soil soon. And who knows, there may already be one or two flying over American soil. I mean, that's just something that probably won't be disclosed to us when it does happen, if it already hasn't happened yet. But we have to do a better job as Americans of educating people and giving them an understanding that there are ways to easily fix our problems. You just have to deal with the reality, and the reality is so many people want to live outside of the reality, pretend like everything's okay. The drones overseas are none of my business. What's happening in Guantanamo Bay is none of my business. And to me, I mean, you really can tell the character of a person by how well they advocate for people that have really just very little help, if any. And so, those of us who advocate for human beings that are being helped the least and that are in the most difficult circumstances, I sort of feel like that's how your character can be judged. And with so few advocating for the end of these drone wars and the end of Guantanamo Bay, there's just our character is really we're going through a tough stage in America where there just needs to be more people advocating for the people who are in tough situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what's great about Ben Swan and I would say authentic media is giving Todd the opportunity to tell his side of the story. You have the mainstream media kind of have their spin on this whole open carry movement. But it's clear, you know, Todd was not saying that, you know, just because a private property owner wishes that, you know, open carry purchase not come in their place of business, it's not a violation of the Second Amendment. You know, that's their right as a private property owner, you know, to exclude certain people. And I'm glad that he had that opportunity to make sure that people understood that and give his side of the story of what they're trying to accomplish. And I think it's great that there's also private property owners that welcome the open carry movement. I think that's great. So thank God for BenSwan.com, for what you do day in and day out, allowing people to have a platform with a voice. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that voice.
All right, we have a caller that just called in. Stuart from South Carolina. How are you?
Hey, Evan and Josh, doing great. Glad to hear you guys on the air. I've really been enjoying the show today, and I just wanted to one statistic that really just jumps out at me with the going back to gun-free zones is that in November of 1990, George H.W. Bush had signed into law the Gun-Free School Zone Act, and since that incident, since they actually, from the federal level, made schools gun-free zones, the number of incidents have quadrupled since then. And so that was a statistic that I think says it all, going back to gun-free zones and how they're just a safe haven for criminals. Lots of times when I think government invades our privacy, whether it be education or through taxation, these different things. We look at in South Carolina when we had the hack, where a lot of information was stolen from individuals in South Carolina. All these situations just create safe havens for criminals to invade privacy and to harm our liberty. So I just wanted to add that, but I've really enjoyed the show today, and the NDAA touching on that too. The situation. I've presented a resolution to my county council here in Lawrence, basically opposing the indefinite detention, and it just really brought it home the idea of how locally we can create roadblocks to stop the intrusions and to stop federal, state, county, any type of government from invading our privacy and harming our liberty. So just wanted to add those things.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Yeah, we really have to advocate for, some maybe civil disobedience at the local level. If we need to arm our schools with our own citizens to make sure that our kids are safe, it's kind of hard for people in communities that work, where they work full time. There's only one public school to send their kids to, and they don't really have the funds or the ability to homeschool their kids. It's really, it really is, puts them in a tough situation when the federal government is saying, no, we can't have citizens in this community arming, a certain, number of people at the school to make sure that if there is somebody, that comes in, that they can be, shot back at, or at least the kids can be defended. But as you said, Stuart, the gun violence really has happened since George H.W. Bush he implemented the Gun-Free School Zone Act, or whatever, exactly it's called. And so you said the number of incidents have quadrupled since 1990. And that's really, no surprise to those of us who are think logically when it comes to, at least, it's terrible what's happened to America. It really is. But at least those of us who are studying, the statistics and who really look at this, through common sense can go, well, this is the way that we need to go forward in the future. And we need to stop listening to these groups that are funded by Michael Bloomberg. We need to think for ourselves. And if the federal government is going to put us in a situation to where we can't defend our children, to heck with the federal government at that moment. Let's practice some civil disobedience. Let's go ahead and arm our schools. Or let's go ahead and do whatever it is to tell the federal government that, yeah, you may be bigger than we are, you have more money than we are, but we certainly don't have the debt that they have. But just sort of flex our muscles and say we're going to do things our own way, and if that inhibits our ability to continue to get funding from you or to continue to have a good relationship with you, well, that's fine. We're going to move forward, and we're going to take care of our children in South Carolina or Texas or whichever state you live in. Thank you so much, Stuart, for being on the call. Josh Cook, it's been great co-hosting the show with you. And good luck in your election, Josh. I know Stuart Jones, another one that's running for election county council in Lawrence County, South Carolina. And thank you so much, listeners, for listening to us this week. Like I said, Ben Swan will be back on the show next week. Look forward to future radio shows. Thanks so much.